Hi guys, welcome back to my book channel. I hope you're having a great day today. I have a very exciting video that I have been kind of watching everyone else's 10 before the end, so I was like, I need to do that. But my book goal, I think I've completed it. Oh my gosh, why am I so shiny? That's my skincare, I swear I'm not like oily. Yeah, I think I've completed, I've not really properly counted it out, but I think I have completed my book goal. I was aiming to do 60 books this year. I think last year I made a goal on Kindle of like 15, so I'm really pleased with my goal being a lot bigger this year, and I'm actually definitely going to hit it either way because I've read 50 books on Kindle Unlimited this year alone, and that's without including audiobooks, which I've been getting into, and books on my bookshelf. So I think I have completed it, especially with the audiobooks added in. So I'm really pleased with that. And I'm going to do like a whole video at the end of the year, or in January, of all of my books and how I ranked them, etc. I'll do like a big video talking about all the books I read this year. But I want to do my 10 before the end. So this is 10 books that I want to read before the end of the year, which I think is doable. I've included 2 books that I'm currently reading in this pile, and then I've got a mix of audiobooks, ebooks and physical books that I want to work through before the end of the year. And I'm filming this on like the second week of November. So I've got like 6 weeks to complete this, and I have faith in myself. I have a busy few months ahead, or well, month and a half ahead, but I think I can do it. I think I can do it. I've stopped kind of watching TV as much. I have been watching Stranger Things, rewatching for the final season, but all I've been doing is reading. So I have faith in myself to complete this goal. But I have wrote down my 10 before the end, and we're going to work through it. I'm going to start with the books that I am currently reading. The first one is a book that I got couple months ago now because I reread Fourth Wing and then read Iron Flame this year, and I was reading these while listening to the dramatised audio, and I have loved this reading experience. I know Fourth Wing gets a lot of hate, but there's something about the excitement and the thrill of listening to a dramatised audio. This is, I think, the first audiobook that I properly start to finish listen to. Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and now I am reading Onyx Storm and listening to it at the same time. I think I have like an hour left, so I'm definitely going to be completing this. I was tearing up listening to it before finishing or starting this video, so yes, it's not looking too good. If you have read this, you'll know what's going on. I'm a bit stressed, but I have really, really enjoyed this. I've seen a lot of people that really didn't like this book, but for me, these are just a good time, and I've thoroughly enjoyed doing this read through. I was kind of putting off reading Onyx Storm, but the amount of discourse I see about this series online, I'm just scared that I'm going to get a spoiler, especially with a lot of people disliking it. I stumble upon videos of people talking about this not being really very good or living up to their expectations, so that's why I wanted to finish it before the end of the year. I reread these for this reason, so that I could catch up with the series. So once I finish this, I am prepared for book 4. I don't know when on earth book 4 is going to come out, but I am excited and I am thoroughly enjoying this, so I'll probably do like this will be included in a video, like a full review video eventually. So that's my number 1. And the other book I'm currently reading is because I finished like maybe a week ago now, or like 4 days ago. It's Friday and I think I finished it on Sunday or Monday. I finished reading Manacled, which is a Harry Potter Draco and Hermione fanfic that has just been developed into a actual book called Alchemised. So I've been wanting to read Manacled for the longest time. It's been on my TBR for ages, and with the release of Alchemised, I was like, I really want to read it. Oh my god, the heartbreak that followed that read was insane. I'll maybe do a video talking about getting into this fanfic, because I've now started reading another one called The Auction, because like I feel like I've been missing out. I don't remember the last time I read a fanfic, probably when I was in high school, and let me tell you, they hit different. There's something so good about finding a good fanfic. So I've been drawn into this whole ship. That's a whole other story. But after I finished Manacled, I really needed a palate cleanser of happiness and joy. If you've finished it, you will know why. That, like, the end line haunts me still. So this is a rom-com, which usually isn't my thing. I really don't reach for contemporary romances, especially romantic comedies. Even rom-com movies really aren't my thing. I just don't vibe with it. And that goes to show how sad I was post-Manacled. But I've actually really enjoyed this. This is Raiders of the Lost Hearts by Jo Segura. This is just a random book that I saw, and I love ancient history and Greek mythology. I love all that. Studied that in uni, so when I saw an archaeology romance book, oh, yeah, give me that right now. So I picked this up and I have been thoroughly enjoying this. This is a good, like, fun read. It's not something that I always feel like with these, I would never probably want to read it again. I feel like with contemporary romances, I struggle with that. I like Throne of Glass, Fourth Wing. These are series that I'd happily go and enjoy again and again. But maybe that's just the kind of person I am. I love things that have, like, that feeling that I can go back to. That's why I love, like, Twilight, Divergent. These kind of movies that I loved growing up that I still rewatch and still love the exact same amount as I first did when I watched them. I love that with books as well, and I don't know, I just will never kind of feel that. I think it would have to be an amazing contemporary romance for me to really want to reread it. And I've had that feeling about dark romances before, or yeah, like super dramatic, like far-fetched romances, but never like a rom-com, super happy storyline. I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I can't wait to reread that. So this is just like a palate cleanser, a good time. And I love this cover. Like, I really love this. Usually I hate books that have people on the front, but I don't know, this is stunning artwork, and this is a blonde male. Now, I usually would not like to read about a blonde love interest. Usually my mind just goes, no, you have brown hair or black, but not blonde. Not even dirty blonde, I'm sorry. But post-Manacled, it's fine. It's so fine. It's funny how things change so quickly. But this is really good. This is kind of branded as like an enemies to lovers. But they're basically just kind of like graduate rivals. They were both in the same graduate scheme and have a bit of like they both want to be number one situation. And I wouldn't really call it enemies to lovers. I feel like that is thrown out quite a lot these days. It's not true enemies to lovers. This is like a fairly short book. It's what, like 350 pages ish. So there's not really a lot of time for enemies to lovers, but if you want like a fun adventure romantic comedy, I would say this is pretty good, and the characters are fun. So that's what I am reading alongside Onyx Storm as a kind of cushion. That's what I read immediately after finishing Manacled. After I finish those, I want to start reading this book, which is called Chaos and Flame. I think this is like a YA fantasy romance, maybe. An assassin, a soldier, a prince, and a deadly game of power. So it sounds like there maybe is a little bit of a love triangle in here as well, if this is heavy on the romance. I picked this up in one of the kind of like outdoor libraries that I go to, and I really want to read it. It's also like a super floppy book. Something so satisfying about that. But yeah, I really don't know much about this at all, and it's been on my shelf staring at me. It's a short read, so I feel like I'll be able to get through it quite quickly. I don't know if it's a standalone or what the situation is. Either way, I feel like I'll definitely be able to get this done quickly, so that's why it's kind of in this 10 before the end, because I have faith in myself to read that. So the next book on my list, well, I don't really know what to call fanfics when I talk about them on here, but I do want to read The Auction, which is also, it's also been published into an actual book, which is called Rose in Chains. I didn't actually realise that that book was developed from The Auction, because I've heard so much about that book. It's on my TBR, and after I finished Manacled, I started looking up what other stories I should read, and The Auction and Secrets and Masks, I think, seem to be two of the other really, really popular ones. So I started on The Auction because I think it's got two other books. It's like a trio kind of thing. So I was like, that intrigues me, that there's a much bigger story. I know you can read The Auction on its own, but yeah, I want to read The Auction or Rose and Change. I don't really know whether or not I want to read the published version before the fanfic. I don't know. I've still to do some research, but it's hard to do research without risking spoilers, because now that I've read Manacled, I kind of know what Alchemised is going to be about, but I still really want to reread. I still want to reread it, so I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be reading that eventually, but not this year. I need a couple months to recover from Manacled, so that's going to be next year's TBR. So yeah, number 4 is The Auction or Rose in Chains, whichever one I want to read first. Number 5 is another ebook, and that is going to be Warrior Fae. This is book 5 of Ruthless Boys in the Zodiac Academy series, and it kind of put me into a slump. Now these books are super long, and book 1 to 4 I was hooked. Loving it. But there's so much being like kind of tied up and going on in book 5 that it got a bit much, and I kind of just lost touch with what was going on, so I kind of stopped reading. I think I'm like 40% through, so I do want to push through and finish Ruthless Boys so that next year I can continue on with the Zodiac Academy series. I had faith in myself that I was going to finish Zodiac Academy this year. You know what? At least the girl has some optimism, because that is very optimistic. That's very optimistic of me. But I will finish it next year. I have thoroughly enjoyed my Zodiac Academy read through so far though, so I do want to kind of wrap up Ruthless Boys and move on to the rest of the story, figure out what's happening there. But yes, so I want to finish Warrior Fae. Another fantasy read that I want to finish or start by the end of this year is Bride of the Shadow King. This is by Sylvia Mercedes, and this is another book that I got in my kind of free outdoor library thing. I don't know what they're called, but I love that thing. Someone put this book in here. I don't know if that means it's bad or good or what, but I do think I should be able to finish this. It's got quite big text. So, and what's that, like 400-ish pages? So that feels like it should be doable. This is also a book 1, I see. So I would like to, I just noticed on the back of this actually that there are 2 other books in this series, Vow of the Shadow King and Heart of the Shadow King, so assuming it is following the same couple through those 3 books, it must be a trilogy. I am quite excited by that concept if I do end up liking this. I think this is a romantasy. I mean, I would assume as much from the kind of blurb and what's going on here. A shunned princess, a reluctant king, a marriage that could save both their kingdoms but destroy their hearts. So, forced marriage type of situation, I guess. Could be a kind of another one of those like fake enemies to lovers situations, but yeah, I'm excited. I feel like this could be good. So, another fantasy book that I want to get through by the end of the year. The next book is another ebook, and this is a dark romance. Insatiable is book 1 of the Edge of Darkness trilogy by Leigh Rivers, and I hope I'm saying her name right, but I have heard so many people that I follow in the book talk space that like dark romance as well, like the same kind of books as me, always talking about this series, always talking about this author. So by the end of the year, I want to know whether or not I like her books, whether or not I should continue on with this series, because this has been on my TBR for the longest time, and I keep thinking about it because it keeps coming up. It keeps coming up. No matter how many videos I watch, this just seems to always be people's favourites. So I feel like I'm missing out. I also wanted to throw in a little dark romance just because I know that I can get a bit tired of fantasy if it's overdone in my back-to-back reads. So I've kind of tried to break it up. There's a few romance or dark romance rom-coms in here, etc. The next book I want to read is quite the opposite of a dark romance, I think, at least based on the cover. Maybe I shouldn't judge it too soon though. This is The Baby Dragon Cafe. I think this is a kind of romance fantasy, and by that I'm meaning like a bit heavier on the romance side than the fantasy. I don't know. I know that our main character opens a kind of dragon cafe, which is quite fun. I've never read a romance like this, so I am intrigued. It's also quite like a short, fun read, so I think this will be a good little palette cleanser throughout my fantasy reads. This is another book that's been on my shelf that I have kind of been wanting to read for a while. I've been kind of trying to work through my physical TBR throughout this as well, because I have read like over 50 ebooks this year, so I've kind of neglected my physical library. Kind of trying to make up for that in the last month and a half that I've got left. So yeah, Baby Dragon Cafe is another one that I'm kind of going to use as a palette cleanser. So the next one is the Book of Azrael. I'm listening to this as an audiobook, and I think compared to audiobooks that I've really liked, I like when it's at least like a male and female cast. I don't like when it's just one voice actor, like a female voice actor having to do the male and female voices. It is not nearly as good as when there's multiple people in the cast. Especially, that's why these dramatised audios are incredible. Having a full cast, it makes it feel so much more vibrant and so much just better for your brain than just one person. Like, I know it doesn't, when you read it, you don't have like a full cast, but there are differences in when I read certain characters in my head. So it just feels weird when I'm listening to an audiobook and it's just the same person throughout the whole thing. It just doesn't always work for me. It doesn't. And I don't know if that's a hot take. I think most people kind of agree that the more people in the cast, the better. Not to criticise audiobooks, I'm sure there are good audiobooks that are done just by one person, but yeah, it just hits different when there's multiple people in the cast. So I have been listening to The Book of Azrael on audiobook, and I have really enjoyed it. I do think I'm not going to say too much. I'm not going to spoil anything in case you've not read it. I've heard a lot about this book, this series in general, and was really excited going in, and I don't know if it's because I'm listening to the audiobook and it's just one voice actor that I'm not clicking with it as much, but I really like Diana. I think she's a super fierce female main character that I love. I love that. She is really, really ruthless, and I'm enjoying her as a main character. I don't know if I'm sold on the romance of it yet though. I feel like they kind of wanted to lean into this enemies to lovers and it was just weak. At least it came across weak across the audiobook, so I don't know. Maybe I think if I was reading book 2, if I end the book and I'm like, yeah, I really want to continue reading this series, I will just read book 2. I won't be listening to the audiobook. And I'm like content with that, but the storyline is fun, and I like a bit of a complicated male character, and I do think Liam or Sam Kyle is complicated, and he's broody and he's mysterious, and I like that, and he has a soft spot for Diana that he doesn't show anyone else, and that's like That's what you need in your romance books, especially in your fantasy romance. So that is my final audiobook on the list, and number 10 is kind of tied. It depends on what I'm feeling. Like maybe one of these are interchangeable, like another fantasy read, but I do think I want to read Right Move. I read Mile High this year and I did like kind of like it. It just felt very long for a contemporary romance. I feel like there's never really a need for a contemporary romance to be super, super long to me. I just get a bit bored. It feels very samey and just a bit boring and dragged out. I know that's super harsh, but in my experience, it sometimes just doesn't need to be that long. And I would argue that Kingdom of Ash could be far longer and I would still devour it and say it's perfect. So yeah, maybe I'm a little bit biased to fantasy, but I do think that this was a bit too long for me. And I just wasn't sold on the relationship, to be honest. I don't know. I just remember not being like, that was amazing. And I see a lot of people really, really love this. And I think that's kind of what stopped me from reading the rest of the books. But I've heard great things about Play Along and Right Move. So these are sports romance books, which I do really like. And I think that adds a kind of another element to contemporary romance that I really like. So I do want to read Right Move. I've heard great things about this relationship and these characters, so I'm super excited. And from what I picked up in book 1, the characters are introduced that are followed through into book 2. I do think it's got potential. It's a forced proximity romance as well, which I kind of love. And I think the main female character has just broken up with a long-term relationship or being cheated on or something like that, which I'm excited to see how the dynamic, I feel like there's going to be a dynamic of protectiveness, and I love that. So that is technically book 10. However, I also have a kind of 11th that is interchangeable because I do really want to read Frankenstein before the end of the year. I picked up this and Pride and Prejudice, and then I've got these are all my like little classics here, and they're all such pretty books. This is Sprayed Edges, and my receipt's just fallen out. I got this when I was in Porto and visited a really cool, it's called the Harry Potter library, but it's not, I don't think it's actually what inspired Harry Potter's staircase or whatever. But this is the name of it. I've wanted to read Frankenstein for a really long time, but I've never had a copy of it. And I was gonna get the clothbound classic. I've got the Iliad and the Odyssey here. But when I went to Porto and saw this edition, I was like, okay, that's coming home with me. And these are beautiful. They're so nice. And I think I've got like a really busy few. I'll take the cover off and I'll show you guys actually. This is basically the collection, they call it. So when you buy your ticket, you can get like one of these books with a certain ticket. It's got a bunch of the classics. It's got Animal Farm and some Charles Dickens and William Shakespeare. It's got Dracula on there. I actually wanted Dracula, but it was sold out, unfortunately. Romeo and Juliet, The Jungle Book, bunch of really good ones, but I ended up going for Frankenstein and Pride and Prejudice, and I think those were good choices, personally. But I just love how cute and small this little book is. Like, are we kidding? It feels so nice and high quality as well. It's got like embossed the collection there as well. I think this will be good because I think for the next like month or so I'm going to be quite busy, so this is like the perfect handbag sized book. And I've thought about this for ages, that like I need to start reading that. I could shove it in my handbag, and then I'm like, but I'm reading all these books right now, I can't add another one into the mix just because it's handbag sized. But I really want to read this because I feel like I won't ever understand the impact that this book and this story and Mary Shelley's work has made to literature without reading it. So I'm super excited to actually read it, and I'm excited to have this book just in general because it's such a fun edition. So that is I know it was kind of 11 books, but I am a mood reader, so I feel like it wouldn't be true of me to say these are the 10 books I'm going to read before the end of the year, when I think I will likely pick up one of them and not want to read it or not be vibing with it at the time. So 11 books and one can be interchangeable. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys want to see my review of these books, I will post one in my kind of like yearly wrap up. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of my 10 before the end, and if you have books that you want to aim to read before the end of the year, let me know down below. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!